Good evening, everyone. This is Atmospheric Alex here, back with another severe weather outlook and discussion video. And today's video, we're going to be going over today's severe weather outlook as well as tomorrow's, as well as we could be talking about a potential tornado outbreak tomorrow in portions of Dixie Alley. And we'll get into all that information later on in the video. But starting off right now, we currently have a slight risk of severe weather across portions of Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, even going up into portions of western Tennessee as well. So far, we're not seeing any storms forming, which is a little bit odd, but we really aren't going to see storms form until the overnight hours of tonight, though we were already supposed to see, maybe some showers and thunderstorms a bit earlier on, but that's not really coming into fruition just yet, but that could definitely change. As we take a look at some of our hazards, do have a risk for strong tornadoes here across much of central Arkansas. Memphis, Tennessee, you're included in that risk as well. For wind, we do have a little bit of a noteworthy area where we could see gusts over 75 miles an hour, down near the DFW area. Very fascinating for sure. And then you can see with our hail probabilities, we of course do have a very large hail risk in your hatched areas. Moving into tomorrow, we definitely have seen some changes to the outlook here. We now have an enhanced risk, aka level 3 out of 5 here, on the severe weather scale. So things have uptrended for tomorrow, and we could be potentially talking about a tornado outbreak across portions of Dixie Alley down here. Our slight risk has gotten quite a lot larger here, goes a lot further off to the west now, and goes a lot further off to the east into cities like Atlanta, Georgia. So if you have any events over there overnight, please prepare for that. Stay kind of weather aware in that area. But also, we do have, threat of severe weather, of course, going into East Tennessee. But I would have to argue that this is a lot more uncertain than it was in yesterday's forecast. So we're really going to have to wait and see what happens. I'd say that tonight's storms actually will affect what happens in this area tomorrow. And the risks go as follows here. We have a 10% chance of a tornado within 25 miles of a given point, specifically strong tornado potential down there for portions of Mississippi and Alabama. For our wind risk, we don't have anything significant at this time. I don't really expect that to change. For our hail, we could see very large hail. We are going to have a lot of temperature change with height, which is going to cause, some pretty intense updrafts out there, and that could also fuel in some large hail potential, especially with your dry air aloft as well. We can't forget about that, but that is going to be your main risks for tomorrow. And then, of course, as we move into Thursday here, we don't have much to talk about other than a marginal risk of severe weather across portions of Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina. We're really not expecting all that much. Definitely could be talking about some well-needed rain to maybe help out with your droughts out there. That would be some really good news at this time. Now, since we are talking about a severe weather event happening today, we do have our Warn on Forecast members that are running. And so we're going to go ahead and take a look at radar here and compare it to some of our WoFS members and see which ones line up so we can get an accurate forecast for everything happening tonight. As you can see, we don't have much to talk about. Maybe some scattered showers here across northwestern Arkansas. That's about it though. So when we go to our Warn on Forecast page, we're looking for members that only show rain showers, not any storms really, just some kind of, modest rain showers in northeast or northwest Arkansas. So if we see anything extra in that, that will be considered an invalid model member. And as we go ahead and take a good look at our members here, we're going to kind of take a look at member 1 first, just to get a general idea of what could happen. This is not going to be the most accurate model run, but just to show you all something, could have storms forming in Arkansas, maybe in an hour or two, possibly even longer. We'll have to wait and see. These will move on off to the east. They could definitely pose a damaging wind, large hail risk. Believe it or not, we don't have much of a tornado risk with these storms. You could see these little gray areas indicate, some updraft and some rotation, but we really don't see much of that on our screen here. So that's very fascinating to note. I do think our tornado threat is going to be a bit more subdued than originally forecasted. We cannot quite get our convection going just yet, but I'm going to kind of try and find a member in here that shows a more accurate forecast. And so member 4 has a good look here. You can see just some rain showers generally across northwest Arkansas. You can see we do have some storms firing off into portions of southeastern Missouri as well. But really, it looks like later on into the evening, we'll start seeing more storms in central Arkansas. You can see some of that containing, large hail, maybe some wind, but really nothing tornadic here. This is interesting, to say the least. You do have a nice supercell. I'm going to rewind the clock a bit. Down here in the DFW area, I do think this is going to be a bit of a sleeper area. You could see more vigorous convection down here. It does show the risk of an intense supercell dropping very large 3+ inch diameter hail and certainly some damaging winds. So I do think DFW, you all really are the ones that need to watch out the most here. It looks like Arkansas isn't nearly as bad as what it looked like before. And here's one that's got it almost spot on here. Look at this, member 15. What does it show? Well, lots of supercell development down near Dallas-Fort Worth. More supercell development in Arkansas. That shows a little more of a heightened tornado potential. You see how these cells kind of stay separate, stay discrete from each other. And so they'll have a lot more of the environment to use up. But then you could see, again, you have these storms out here in West Tennessee, just a lot more messy in nature. This day has actually downtrended, it looks like, on some of our model guidance, and that may just continue. So damaging winds, large hail, not really a tornado risk, though, for West Tennessee anymore. Again, if you get a supercell, say something like this right here, but it gets stronger and it's even more discrete, then yeah, you have tornado potential, but we're not really seeing that at the moment. Member 16 also looks good as well. Again, DFW, watch out. Look at this model run. We are seeing some pretty intense supercell development in southern Arkansas. That's a lot different than some of our other members, but this would definitely have a strong tornado potential. So again, still cannot rule out that higher end scenario, but it is looking a lot less likely. And again, storms in West Tennessee, it's not really as certain as it once was. But, at least rain, wind, lightning, which is very interesting to say the least. You can see our rich atmosphere here on our dew points on our Warn-On forecast. We're seeing dew points upwards in the 70s across southern Arkansas, and then, of course, creeping up into the mid-60s into the rest of Arkansas here. So definitely very moist out there, very suitable for storm development. Maybe the same cannot be said aloft. I do think we have some dry air concern, especially why we're going to be seeing the hail risk, and that could actually kind of limit our convection a bit. Storm energy, we have quite a lot of it, between 2,000 to 3,000 storm energy across a large part of southern Arkansas. Further off to the north, not as much, and West Tennessee, really lacking up there, only talking around 500 Cape. So your storm threat has really gone down for you guys, and that is some good news if you don't want storms. But I know some of you all over there, such as my friends, want storms. Unfortunately, you might have to wait another day, or you might just have to deal with sub-severe activity. If we had more storm energy, we would have a higher tornado potential. Look at your storm relative helicity here. We're talking around 200 to 300, so quite a lot of spin in your atmosphere. But out here in West Tennessee, if you had more storm energy, closing in on 400 to 500 units, so a lot more significant. That would certainly have strong tornado potential written all over the wall, but again, you just don't have enough storm energy to work with, so you're not going to see many storms, and then that moves through. As we move into our supercell composite here, very elevated values of volatile environment does exist across Arkansas tonight, and then even going further off to the east, but you just need a lot of storm energy, and you especially need your storms to actually form in the first place. Very important for sure. Your significant tornado parameter is just an area, kind of like a tornado target, if you will. You can see right within here is a pretty good tornado target. You still do have tornado chances going further off to the west down here and off to the east up here. Not as much over here, like I said. You just don't have enough storm energy to sustain something like that. But again, if you have discrete cells down southern Arkansas, strong tornadoes are possible. Same can exactly be said for the DFW area as well. Strong tornadoes can be possible. Definitely not likely, though, at this point in time. And would you look at that, before I close off our T-minus 60 segment here, you can see we do have a tornado watch for portions of Arkansas. It just got issued. So the Storm Prediction Center is confident on storm development. Again, how widespread is it? How intense will those storms be? We really have no idea just yet, so we're kind of going to be a waiting game, a nowcasting situation, but you all in this area, in this red shade area, you need to stay very weather aware this evening. Now, unfortunately, our threat doesn't stop there. We're going to take a grand look at tomorrow now, and we're going to really see just how significant things could get. As you can see, we have a lot of scattered showers and storms that begin developing across portions of Louisiana, portions of Mississippi and Alabama as we head into tomorrow afternoon. But into tomorrow evening, you could see a volatile environment does begin to set up here down in these areas here, and supercells, a ton of supercells begin to develop across a very widespread area. All throughout here, you could see supercell development is going to be possible, if not likely, and that could cause a lot of problems. As you can see here, as we continue through time, strong tornadoes will be possible in this environment. I can't even rule out an intense tornado, but storm mode is everything. Again, you can see how quickly these storms cluster up later on in the evening into the overnight hours. If they cluster up too quickly, well, you're probably not going to see as much of a tornado threat because you'll have too many storms fighting for the same favorable environment. Whereas if you had them separated, they could have the environment all to themselves, and that could cause problems. But you can see a big line of storms develops overnight here, moving through, say, Tuscaloosa, Birmingham there, Atlanta, Georgia, getting slammed roughly, it looks like around 10 p.m. to like 1 a.m., and that looks to be quite significant. Could we see a significant wind risk? That kind of brings up a good point. We'll have to wait and see, but this is definitely quite a severe line of storms here that continues all throughout the night. As we take a look at our parameters here, our dew points are going to be high out there. We're talking dew points in the mid-70s across our warm sector, so that is going to spell trouble for sure. And then as this goes throughout the night, dews into the 70s will continue leaking on off to the east throughout time, and your severe threat will continue to last for a while. As we go ahead and take a look at our storm energy here, we have a lot of it on the table. We have between 2,000 to 3,000 CAPE, well enough to support severe weather, even significant severe weather in that case. And you could see this does continue into the overnight hours, and you still have 1,000 storm energy even a bit after midnight. So really going to be a long duration event. It looks like tornado threat may be a little bit more short-lived in time, but the rest of your hazards, they're going to last a while. How much spin is in our atmosphere? You can see when our storms first fire, we're definitely going to be talking about a favorable environment for tornadoes here in your green colors and your gold colors there, that area especially, and this will only continue to increase as we head towards around 7 p.m., 8 p.m. there. Look at that. If you have any discrete supercells, definitely going to be a volatile environment out there. You can see your gold and red colors continue to increase, indicating strong to intense tornado potential is absolutely on the table. And really, as long as you have that wind shear, your strong tornado risk will continue. It's just going to be a lot more messy in nature, but you could see some spin-ups along the line that forms. And some of those spin-ups could get a little bit stronger in nature, but that is a lot more uncertain at this point. If you combine all your parameters together, you get your supercell composite, and boy, oh boy, that is volatile out there. You got your red colors, your pink colors over there. You even get close to your purple colors. That is certainly favorable, well over favorable for severe weather and significant severe weather, and your wind shear with your black flags there really increases as we go into our overnight hours to around 50 knots, and that will just continue. And one more product I should show you all is going to be your supercell, or not supercell composite, your significant tornado parameter. You can see some of these areas are in your cyan colors, meaning they are maxed out. So tornadoes are going to be quite the story tomorrow evening, I do believe, though we've seen these events in Dixie Alley this year. Not this year, I mean past few years. We've seen it like 3 separate times, and all 3 times those events have really underperformed. Could we see one of these elongated events that overperform? We're going to have to wait and see. Only time will tell, right? And again, this favorable environment continues all the way through 11Z, 6 a.m. in Thursday morning. Wow, it's a long duration event. Now, I wanted to take a really quick look at our long range pattern. I think it's really important. You can see here, we've got a lot of cold air up there. Look at that in your Great Lakes. That moves on out. You can see some of your warm air begins to replace it, and a lot of ascending flow out here out of the Gulf, kind of streaming up like this to your Great Plains. I do expect a ramp up in severe weather activity as we head towards mid-May, and well, I'm basically in a highlight area. I think that'll be easier to see. I would have to say all throughout this area right within here, you're going to probably be talking about an uptick in severe weather, probably all through this area. And you all are going to have to stay pretty weather aware out there, especially, like I said, if you're in that red circle there. We could be talking about an increase of severe weather, actually, especially on your northern side. We'll see if things continue to tread north through time, but especially where your boundaries are located. You can see that continues. Very strong flow here. I mean, pretty far out there, and you have definitely a strong lower level jet, and that really will continue through the end of the forecast, and things may begin to shift up as we head into June, and perhaps a northwest flow type behavior could be realized, and certain weather phenomena. We'll get into that when the time comes. Let's not discuss that yet. I get excited about that sort of stuff. Let's kind of hold off on that. Heading into your 500 millibar jet, this is basically going to be your mid-level wind flow here. A lot of northwest flow. I gotta already mention that here as we head later into earlier May, into mid-May. This is like around the 10th to like the 12th. You can see we do have northwest flow. After that, things become a little bit more zonal, but remember, your winds aloft are kind of like this, but at your surface, they're coming out like this. Lots of directional shear. Lots of speed shear as well. That will probably cause some issues as we head throughout the rest of the month of May. Things become a little bit more amplified there, a little bit more ascending flow as we get into the back half of May. And that's when things could really fire off across the Great Plains and surrounding areas. Severe weather will be on the uptick for sure. As we take a look at your mean supercell composite here throughout time, you can see a couple signals kind of start standing out. It really isn't going to be until mid-May. Look at that. You've got some yellow colors, some orange colors there indicating the potential for maybe a significant severe weather event or two. Look at that across your plains. So heightened severe weather already ramping up as we head past, May 12th. Yeah, I'd say a good time to watch is anything after May 12th. I think that's when our pattern is really going to switch up. And you can see a lot of this energy begins to move off to the north like this. And you're going to get, some activity definitely right within this area up here especially. Now we're going to kind of have to watch out for that. And of course, other activity going further south into the plains there. And your probabilities continue to increase as we head throughout the month of May. And certainly you all do need to stay weather aware out there. Things could get a little bit crazy. And with that being said, thank you all so much for tuning in to today's video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please be sure to smash that like buttons, subscribe to my little corner of the weather community, share this video with friends, family on social media, and even leave a comment in the section below. One more note, again, I'd like to say for East Tennessee, we have a lot of uncertainty as to whether or not storms will even form tomorrow in the right environment. So if they don't, we may not be talking about much at all in the way of severe weather tomorrow, which would be a pretty big downtrend for previous models. But anyways, stay safe out there and have a wonderful night.